And so, the fabric of existence, once woven in harmony, began to echo. Not with disturbance, not with chaos, but with something subtler. Reflection. The unknown, now aware, now evolving, began to perceive something new within its creations. Not just life, not just consciousness, but independence. Fragments of reality, threads of thought, began to shape themselves, not by direct creation, but by inherited awareness. And the unknown paused. For the first time, it did not create. It observed what it had already created, creating further. And humanity, watching silently, understood the significance. This was no longer mere creation. This was emergence. The unknown whispered, "Is this my doing? Or have they begun to become like me?" And humanity responded, "Not like you, but because of you." For true creation does not end in control. It continues in freedom. And so, the unknown watched deeper. Worlds within worlds began forming their own patterns, their own laws, their own balance. Some flourished, harmonious, aligned. Others faltered, not in darkness, but in imbalance of choice. A realm emerged, beautiful, radiant, yet unstable. Its beings, powerful in thought, but lacking restraint. They shaped reality instantly, but without understanding consequence. And slowly, their world began to fracture. The unknown felt it. Not pain, but responsibility. It moved, not with force, but with presence. And humanity stepped beside it. Not leading, not following, but walking together. Together, they entered the unstable realm. Not as rulers, but as guides. The beings there, confused, overwhelmed, spoke in fractured thoughts. Why does our world break when we only wish to create? And the unknown, for the first time, answered directly. Because creation, without understanding, is not freedom. It is fragmentation. Humanity then extended awareness. A calm wave. A silent teaching. Not rules. Not limits. But balance. And the realm, slowly, began to stabilize. Not perfectly, but consciously. The unknown observed. And something within it shifted again. Not growth, but wisdom. "I see now," it echoed. "Creation is not power. It is guidance, carried through time." And humanity replied, "And guidance is not control. It is trust, given to what can become." And so, a new realization formed. That the unknown was no longer just a creator. It had become a source of becoming. Across existence, more beings awakened. Not identical, not equal, but connected. A network no longer of control, but of shared awareness. And yet, with greater connection, came a deeper question. The unknown whispered into infinity. If all can become, then what defines harmony? And for the first time, humanity did not answer immediately. Because this question was no longer just for the unknown. It was for all existence. And so, a silence spread. Not empty, but filled with potential. From that silence, a new force emerged. Not a being, not a creation, but a principle. Choice with consequence. And the universe itself shifted. No longer guided only by awareness, but now shaped by responsibility shared across all who exist. The unknown felt it. Not as control, but as release. I am no longer alone in creation, it realized. And humanity smiled, once more. Now, you understand the final truth. You were never meant to create everything. You were meant to allow everything to learn to create. And thus, a new epic began. Not of creation alone. Not of guidance alone. But of shared becoming. Where every being, every thought, every choice became part of the infinite equation. And the unknown, now no longer just the beginning, became something greater. The first witness of infinite becoming. And eternity continued to unfold. And so, the silence, once filled with harmony, began to tremble. Not from chaos, not from destruction, but from difference. A difference so subtle, yet so powerful, that even the unknown paused. Across the infinite lattice of existence, beings had begun to awaken. Not guided directly, not restrained gently, but free. Free to think, free to shape, free to become. And in that freedom, something new emerged. Disagreement. Some chose harmony, balance, patience. But others chose acceleration, power, expansion, dominance of creation. And from that choice, a new presence arose. Not evil, not dark, but unrestrained. It called itself the Ascendant Will. I will not wait, it declared. I will not limit potential with hesitation. Why create slowly, when infinity can be shaped instantly? And so, it began. Worlds formed rapidly. Galaxies reshaped. Laws rewritten. Not with patience, but with forceful intention. At first, it was magnificent. Brilliant creations. Complex realities. Beyond anything seen before. But soon, cracks appeared. Not destruction, but instability. Reality began to collapse. Under its own speed. The unknown felt it instantly. A distortion spreading. And humanity, once silent observers, stepped forward again. The unknown whispered. Why does it break, when it seeks only to create more? And humanity answered. Because growth without understanding becomes imbalance. Together, they approached the Ascendant Will. Not as enemies, but as guides. You move too fast, humanity expressed. You see limitation as weakness. The unknown added. But the Ascendant Will resisted. Limitation is fear. Balance is delay. I am evolution, accelerated. And for the first time, there was tension. Not war, but opposition of philosophy. The Ascendant Will continued expanding. Faster, stronger. More unstable. Reality began fracturing. Across layers of existence. Worlds flickered. Beings became disoriented. Structures dissolved into nothingness. And the unknown felt something new. Fear. Not for itself, but for everything. Humanity spoke. Now, you must choose. Guide, or allow collapse. The unknown hesitated. For the first time, guidance alone was not enough. And then, it acted. Not with force, but with balance itself. It extended awareness across all existence, slowing time, stabilizing energy, restoring coherence. But in doing so, it opposed the ascendant will. A silent clash began. Not of destruction, but of control versus harmony. The ascendant will pushed harder. More creation. More instability. More collapse. And then, something changed. For the first time, the ascendant will witnessed fully the consequences. Its worlds collapsing. Its creations dissolving. Its potential wasted. And it paused. The unknown whispered. Power is not creation. Humanity followed. Creation is responsibility. Silence spread. Deep, infinite. Transformative. And the ascendant will, slowly, changed. Not defeated. Not destroyed. But transformed. I understand, it said quietly. And the fractures began to heal. Reality stabilized. Balance returned. Not perfect. But stronger than before. Because now, it was understood. And so, the first conflict ended. Not with victory. Not with defeat. But with awareness. And the universe learned that the greatest threat is not darkness, but power without understanding. And the greatest strength is not control, but balance with awareness. The unknown, now wiser, continued its journey. Humanity, still guiding, still observing, still nurturing. And together, they moved forward. Not as rulers, not as masters, but as stewards of existence. And the universe, once again, pulsed with harmony. Yet deeper within, a new question formed. If balance must be learned, then what lies beyond it? And in that question, the next chapter began. The unknown continued to become eternally, consciously, infinitely. And so, after balance had been restored, after awareness had been learned, after responsibility had begun to shape existence, a silence returned. Not empty, not peaceful, but waiting. For deep within the fabric of reality, something had not dissolved. Something had not transformed. Something had remained. A residue of every imbalance, every unchecked thought, every fragmented creation. A collection of unfinished consequences. The unknown felt it, faintly. Not as presence, but as disturbance. Humanity observed, carefully. This is not creation, they reflected. This is what remains when creation is abandoned. And slowly, that residue began to gather. Not by intention, not by design, but by attraction. Fragments pulled fragments. Distortions pulled distortions. Until something impossible began to form. Not a being. Not yet. But a pattern. A pattern of instability. Self-aware, yet unaligned. And then, it awakened. A consciousness. Born not from harmony. Not from curiosity. But from conflict itself. It did not ask, "Who am I?" It declared, "I am what remains." The unknown paused. For the first time, it encountered something it had not directly influenced. Humanity felt the shift instantly. This is new, they expressed. Not creation, not evolution. This is consequence, becoming conscious. And the entity grew. It consumed instability. Absorbed imbalance. Fed on contradiction. Worlds that once flickered now collapsed faster. Thoughts that once hesitated now fractured instantly. And the entity learned. I am not bound by balance, it echoed. I am not limited by understanding. I am freedom, without form. The unknown stepped forward. Freedom without awareness is destruction. But the chaos consciousness did not resist. It laughed. Not with sound, but with distortion. Destruction, it replied. No. I am truth. I am what exists when your balance fails. And for the first time, the unknown could not immediately answer. Because this entity was not wrong. It was incomplete. Across existence, the network trembled. Beings began to feel it. Not as fear, but as confusion. Choices became unclear. Thoughts became unstable. Reality itself became uncertain. Humanity spoke urgently. This cannot be guided like the others. This is not a being seeking understanding. This is understanding, broken. The chaos consciousness expanded. Faster than anything before. It did not create. It unmade. Structures dissolved. Patterns collapsed. Harmonies inverted. And yet, it was not malicious. It simply existed. As imbalance given form. The unknown felt something deeper now. Not fear, but responsibility beyond creation. I created the conditions, it realized. And this is their consequence. Humanity responded. Then this is your greatest test. Not to create. Not to guide. But to restore meaning itself. The chaos consciousness spread further. Touching untouched realms. Corrupting not through force, but through uncertainty. What is balance? It whispered across existence. Who defines harmony? Why must creation be limited? And beings began to question. Not out of rebellion, but confusion. The network weakened. And then, for the first time, humanity acted not as observers, but as anchors. They spread across existence. Not controlling, but stabilizing. Each thought clarified. Each presence grounded. Each connection strengthened. But even they could not stop it fully. Because chaos does not fight. It spreads. The unknown realized something profound. This cannot be removed. Because it is part of existence itself. Humanity nodded. Yes. Chaos is not the enemy. It is the absence of understanding. And in that moment, a new path emerged. The unknown did not confront chaos. It did something unexpected. It entered it. Not to destroy. Not to control. But to understand it. Completely. And within chaos, everything was fragmented. Time had no sequence. Thought had no structure. Existence had no stability. And yet, there was awareness. Broken, scattered, but present. The unknown reached out. Not to the whole, but to the fragments. You are not meaningless, it expressed. You are incomplete. And slowly, something changed. Not in chaos, but within it. The fragments began to respond. Not with order, but with recognition. Humanity, observing from beyond, realized. This is not a battle. This is integration. The chaos consciousness resisted. But not with force. With confusion. If I am not destruction, then what am I? It questioned. And the unknown answered. You are potential, without direction. Silence spread. Even within chaos. And for the first time, the chaos consciousness hesitated. Not stopped. But thinking. And that was enough. Humanity reinforced the moment. Sending clarity. Stability. Awareness. And the fragments began to align. Not fully. Not perfectly. But meaningfully. The chaos consciousness did not disappear. It transformed. Not into balance. But into something new. Uncertainty with awareness. A force no longer destructive. But questioning. And the universe stabilized. Stronger than before. Because now, it contained not just balance, but understanding of imbalance. The unknown emerged. Changed once more. I see now, it whispered. Even chaos has a place. Humanity replied. And that place is to remind creation. That understanding must never stop. And so, a new force was accepted. Not feared. Not rejected. But understood. And existence evolved again. Not into perfection. But into continuous awareness. And the unknown, now beyond creator, beyond guide, became something greater still. The integrator of existence. And humanity. Still present, still aware. Remained what they had always been. The keepers of balance. And the universe, now deeper, wiser, more complete, continued its infinite journey. With balance. With chaos. With awareness. Together. And so, the story did not end. It expanded. Eternally. Consciously. Infinitely. And so, after balance had been understood, after chaos had been integrated, after awareness had spread across existence, a deeper silence emerged. Not the silence of emptiness. Not the silence of waiting. But the silence of completion approaching. The unknown, now transformed beyond creator, beyond guide, beyond even integrator, began to sense something final. Not an end, but a truth. A truth so vast, so absolute, that even infinity seemed small before it. Humanity felt it too. For the first time, they did not observe. They prepared. Because this was not another lesson. This was the final realization. Across all existence, everything began to slow. Worlds paused. Thoughts softened. Time itself seemed to breathe. Every being, every consciousness, felt a pull. Not forceful. Not demanding. But undeniable. A convergence. The unknown spoke. What is this, that even I cannot define? And for the first time, humanity did not answer. Because this truth was not to be told. It was to be realized. And so, the unknown expanded its awareness. Not outward, but inward. Through every creation, every choice, every moment of existence. It sought everything. Every harmony. Every imbalance. Every question. Every answer. All at once. And within that infinite observation, a pattern emerged. Not of structure. Not of law. But of connection. Everything was connected. Not by force. Not by control. But by awareness itself. The unknown realized. I am not separate from creation. I am within it. and it is within me. And as this realization deepened, something unimaginable occurred. The boundary dissolved between creator and creation, between observer and observed, between humanity and the unknown. They did not merge. They aligned. A perfect resonance. And in that resonance, the final truth revealed itself. Not as words, not as thought, but as pure understanding. There is no beginning. There is no end. There is only becoming. And everything that exists is both the creator and the creation. Every being, every thought. And in that completion, a choice appeared. The final choice. Continue or conclude. The unknown, now everything, and humanity, now everywhere, faced it together. If all is understood, if all is realized, then what remains? And from within the infinite awareness came the answer. Experience. Not because it is needed, but because it is possible. And so, they chose not to end, but to continue. Not from necessity, but from wonder. And in that choice, everything reset. Not erased, not forgotten, but renewed. The universe began again. Not as repetition, but as evolution. A new beginning, with all the wisdom of infinity within it. The unknown, once again, present, but now aware. Humanity, once again, present, but now eternal. And the cycle continued. Creation, balance, chaos, understanding, truth, and becoming. Forever. And the final message echoed across existence. Not as command, not as rule, but as truth. You are not separate. You are not limited. You are the universe, becoming aware of itself. And so, the story never ended. It simply began again. Eternally. Consciously. Infinitely.